The screech of tires cutting through the air jolted me back to reality, just as I was turning into the parking lot of the pharmacy. A black SUV swooped aggressively into the lone handicapped space. I stood there, angry but not shocked, and watched as a fashionably attired woman emerged, gliding effortlessly, no apparent disability in evidence. No placard, no permit, nothing. Just arrogant entitlement in full bloom. And so my day-long ordeal became a little longer. Following a painful physical therapy session, the last I wanted was an extra hurdle. But there I was, being left to park in the distance and prepare myself for the longer walk, limping through the parking lot with the aid of my prosthetic leg. But that wasn't the end of it. As I fumbled with the straps of my prosthesis, trying to get it secured, I could hear the sharp tones of a confrontation brewing nearby. The woman was already in a heated argument with a pharmacy employee about her choice of parking. Her voice rang out across the lot, loud and unapologetically arrogant. "I have every right to park here." "Do you even know who I am?" she snapped, throwing her manicured hands up in the air like punctuation marks. I breathed. Perhaps she didn't know the space was reserved for those who truly needed it. Perhaps this was merely ignorance, not entitlement. So I chose to intervene. What followed took an unexpected turn. I crept up slowly, cane at the ready, each step slow and measured. At close range, I saw the designer sunglasses resting elegantly on her head, a yoga mat rolled up and held loosely under her arm, and that unmistakable air of superiority written on her face. "Excuse me, ma'am," I replied, my voice steady. "I don't want to intrude, but that space is reserved for the disabled. I didn't notice a placard on your vehicle, and I really could have used that space today." I pointed to my prosthetic leg, hoping that would give her some perspective. It didn't. Instead, her face contorted in rage. "How can you presume that I am not disabled?" she snarled. "Not all disabilities are obvious. I have as much right to be here, as much as you, in fact, because I arrived first." She whirled on her heel and strode toward the pharmacy door, leaving me aghast. Around us, others were starting to collect. A few of them even picked up their phones, capturing everything. Awesome. Just what I needed. A front row seat to my own viral shame. But the true story, the bit people don't always get to see, begins after moments like this. For the past 3 years, I've lived in Oak Ridge Estates, a picture-perfect neighborhood with a not-so-perfect reputation for its overzealous homeowners association. As a retired Army veteran, I've done my best to stay low-key. My focus has been on healing, physically, mentally, and adjusting to civilian life, one day at a time. And mostly it's worked, until the HOA president entered the picture. Her name? Karen Westfield. And yes, the irony isn't lost on me. Karen treated me like a potential problem from day one, not a neighbor. She didn't believe in special treatment, she once informed me, her tone making it quite clear that my service in the military and the prosthetic leg were never going to get me any favors. When I asked for a plain ramp for my porch, just sufficient to make entering and exiting my home tolerable, she protested vehemently. Something about neighborhood aesthetics. It took the gentle reminder of another board member that refusing disability accommodations might be a federal law violation to bring her around. Reluctantly, she agreed. The ramp was approved, but the chill that ensued never melted. And now, as if fate had a sick sense of humor, that very same self-absorbed woman from the parking lot, the one who'd yelled at me, belittled my disability, and strode off without so much as a "by your leave." Yeah, that was Karen Westfield. Same woman, same demeanor, and the same illegally taken disabled parking spot. Yoga mat in hand. The irony could not have been more obvious. Even after our strained first encounter, I decided to try again. Perhaps, just perhaps, sense would prevail where fight had not. I caught up with her mere steps outside the pharmacy doors. "Mrs. Westfield," I explained quietly, maintaining an even, measured tone, the same calm I'd applied in critical situations abroad. "I really require that space. My prosthetics malfunctioning after therapy this afternoon, and the walk from the standard lot is difficult." She spun around. The instant she saw me, her countenance grew rigid into something frigid. "Oh, you," she retorted, disgust dripping from her voice. "The veteran who believes the rules don't count for him? I'll have you know, I have medical conditions as well. Just because your disability is visible doesn't make it any more real than mine." I breathed in, suppressing the aggravation that simmered just beneath the surface. I appreciate that, ma'am. By law, you must have either a placard or disabled tag to occupy that space. Do you have a space that I am equally entitled to? She said, directly pointing at me. This man is bullying me just because my disability is not something visible to him. The officer, his badge read, Martinez, noted respectfully and turned to me. Sir, I need to see your identification and your handicap placard. Silently, I handed them both over. He looked at them carefully, then handed them back with a polite nod. Thank you, sir. And thank you for your service. And then he turned to Karen. Ma'am, I'll also need to see your disabled parking documentation. Karen's face hardened once more. As I've already explained repeatedly, I left at home today, she snapped, but I do have a disability, PTSD from a car accident, and standing for so long sets off my anxiety. Are you implying I'm lying because I'm not wearing a prosthetic? Officer Martinez kept his tone calm, voice even. No, ma'am. I'm not asking if you do or don't have a disability, but the law mandates visible proof, either a placard or special license plate, when parking in a disabled space. Without that, the car is parked illegally, no matter the condition. Karen's face started to flush, her voice growing louder. This is ridiculous. Do you have any idea who I am? I'm the president of the Oak Ridge Estates Homeowners Association. I know the law. I enforce the law in my own community. She pointed at the officer now, fingers shaking with rage. And then, prompt as could be, a young man in the crowd emerged. Officer, I think you need to take a look at this, he said, holding his phone. I've got footage of this woman running to her car after taking a yoga class at Mindful Movement Studio about 20 minutes ago. Same color mat, same color clothing. She wasn't impaired whatsoever. Officer Martinez's eyebrow shot up. Is that right? Would you be able to show me? The man nodded, unlocked his phone, and handed it over. Karen attempted to interrupt, attempted to spin the story once again, but the officer held up a hand without glancing away from the screen. I couldn't see the video from where I was standing, but I didn't need to. Karen's face told me everything. The righteous anger in her eyes was gone, replaced by tight-lipped panic. That's not applicable, she stuttered. I have good days and bad days, and yoga is therapeutic. My doctor prescribes it. Officer Martinez returned the phone to the young man, then turned to Karen with a sense of finality in his voice. Ma'am, from what I have seen and as evidence presented, I'm going to have to give you a ticket for parking illegally in a handicapped space without authorization. That's a ticket with a penalty, and I would advise you not to do it again. Karen began to open her mouth to protest, and then changed her mind. She remained silent. The officer completed writing out the ticket, taped it onto her windshield wiper, and turned to face me. Have a nice evening, sir. If you need help getting into your truck, let us know. I nodded, attempting a silent thank you. While Karen stormed away toward her SUV, red-faced and defeated, the crowd dispersed, whispers of justice and karma on their tails. And for the first time that day, I felt like I could finally breathe. As I drove into the pharmacy parking lot after a long, arduous physical therapy session, the sudden screech of tires jolted my attention to the front. A shiny black SUV veered into the sole disabled parking space. A woman in high-end workout wear emerged, a confident grip on a yoga mat under her arm. No limp, no apparent mobility aid, no placard hanging from the rearview mirror. I groaned, irritated but attempting to remain calm. That would have made life simpler, particularly today. I was forced to park further out and started the agonizing process of fastening my prosthetic leg, psychologically bracing myself for the throbbing limp that lay ahead. But by the time I'd finished, I heard loud voices. The lady was now vociferously disputing with one of the pharmacy attendants over her right to do so. I have complete right to this place. You don't recognize me, do you? She snapped, flailing arms with outrage. This was my turn. I strode up to her, my cane leaning against my leg. Ma'am, I ventured softly, I couldn't help but observe that you didn't have a placard. I could most definitely use this place today. She didn't bat an eye. Her eyes focused on my prosthetic leg and narrowed. How dare you think I'm not disabled? Just because you can see your injury doesn't mean I'm not hurt, she snapped. And I was here first. I just stood there, shocked. The anger, the sense of entitlement, it took me totally by surprise. She strode off toward the shop, Phones sprang up from the crowd, fingers tapping record. Just great. Just what I needed. To be involved in some viral internet drama. But the story didn't end there. Oh no, it was just getting started. Because the woman in question? Her name was Karen Westfield, president of the Oak Ridge Estates Homeowners Association. My HOA president. For 3 years, I'd kept to myself in this. President, I can make life very difficult for people who cross me. Then she spoke to me again. Don't think I'll forget this when your request for that garden modification comes up next week. Before things could go any further, the store manager showed up. Is there a problem here? Karen interjected. Yes, he's harassing me because I parked in the disabled parking space. He's discriminating against me. I just pointed to my prosthetic and waved my valid placard. I served 3 tours in Afghanistan. Lost my leg during my last deployment. I just need my prescription. The manager nodded gravely and addressed Karen. Ma'am, do you possess the necessary placard? As I explained, I left it at home. She insisted, quite upset. I have PTSD and anxiety. My condition does make me eligible for that space. The manager stood his ground. In the absence of visible documentation, I'm going to have to request you to relocate your vehicle. Karen erupted. This is ridiculous. You're taking the guy's side because he's got one leg short? I'm calling the police, but she didn't need to because they were already headed that way. A patrol vehicle pulled in. Officer Martinez got out, calm and cool. Karen didn't hesitate to spin her yarn. Officer, I'm being harassed. This man is assaulting me over a parking space. Officer Martinez addressed me. Sir, ID and placard, please. I handed them over. He examined both and nodded respectfully. Thank you, sir, and thank you for your service. Then he addressed Karen. Ma'am, do you have disabled parking documentation? I already told you no. She spat. But I do have a genuine disability. Are you implying something else? No, ma'am, but without proof, it's against the law to park there. Do you recognize who I am? I am the law around here, she seethed. And then, another turn of events. A young man emerged holding his phone. Officer, I have her on tape running from her yoga class not more than 30 minutes ago. Karen's bluster left her face. That's irrelevant, she stuttered. Yoga assists me in controlling my condition. Officer Martinez scanned the recording. He faced Karen again. Ma'am, I'm issuing a $300 fine for parking in a disabled space illegally. I'll contest this. I know the DA personally, she bellowed, but her voice broke. Then came the second patrol car. Karen's voice rose again. This is harassment. I'm going to sue this veteran, this store, the police department. She jabbed a finger at Officer Martinez's chest. That was it. Ma'am, please place your hands behind your back. You're under arrest for disorderly conduct and assaulting a police officer. What this is insane. My husband will have your badge. But that wasn't relevant. Officer Martinez recited calmly as she escorted her to the vehicle. Karen's rights clicking shut as cuffs. And there it was. The woman who dominated our street with an iron hand being transported away in a police vehicle in the back. The crowd thinned quietly away. I grabbed my prescription finally. But that wasn't the end of it. 3 days later, I got a letter from the HOA. There had been an emergency meeting to address recent behavior by board leadership. That night, my doorbell rang. A nervous young woman stood on my front porch. She seemed to be barely out of college. Hi. I'm Sophie Westfield, Karen's daughter. I wanted to apologize for the way my mom's treated you, and not just at the pharmacy. She stood holding out an envelope in shaky hands. This is a letter from me. I just wanted you to know, not everyone in our family thinks like she does. I took the envelope, really moved. Thank you, Sophie. That means a lot. She nodded. She's been fined more than $1,000 in order to do 40 hours of community service. And she's off the HOA board. Then Sophie smiled with a tinge of sadness. When she heard this morning, she hurled a vase against the wall. Perhaps now she'll finally receive the wake-up call she deserves. I nodded, still unable to speak as she turned and strode away. And for the first time since I'd relocated to Oak Ridge Estates, I felt like perhaps, just perhaps, this town was beginning to change.